Let's bring in Mike Richards now, Saga 960, the iconic radio guy. Mike, when you get called that, are you like me and it makes you feel old? Or do you feel good when people say that about you?
I need to hear more of that. What else do you have?
The loquacious, hot Mike Richards.
Yeah.
How about that?
There we go. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Hey, buddy.
And, I haven't seen Tulsa King yet, and it's on my list because I'm a huge Yellowstone guy. I love it. I think it's just brilliant. But the Stallone thing, I just saw just a little clip of it. Oh my God, it looks good. No, that's on my list. That is on the list.
It's Yellowstone meets Mafia and oil.
Oh,
kind of what it is.
Sort of like Hamilton. Well, yeah.
Or Calgary. No, Calgary's Yellowstone.
Yeah.
It's Yellowstone. That's Yellowstone.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that Canada's 1-0 loss to Belgium smashed the Grey? Well, they beat the Grey Cup in ratings, Canada's national sporting event. Are we on the precipice of change here in Canada?
Well, let's put it this way. That event, and that's really what it was. That's what we're talking about. It is something we haven't seen since '86. But in 1986, no one cared about soccer. No one knew about soccer. The way that Canada got into it, I think it wasn't in Newfoundland where that game was. People were on their lawn chairs. They were eating Cheetos. Like, it really didn't have a pageant-like atmosphere. But we're talking about probably in terms of athletics, so far in men's sports in the history of this country, one of the greatest moments that we have seen in modern times. I mean, you'd have to go back to some really special moments, whether it was the Vancouver Olympics, the golden goal, or even before that, like the 1972 Summit Series. That's how big this was. So if those numbers weren't that big, then there would be something severely wrong with the way that we hold our athletics and sports in this country. If it wasn't that big, then there's a problem. That would mean that, quite frankly, the CPL is way off base. All the groundswell of grassroots soccer. If that thing did not have huge numbers, then there would be a real problem. But that's not surprising to me at all. It's also not really a reflection, perhaps, let's say, on the Grey Cup or CFL coverage. That's a whole different story. And as I said, this is going to be for every time they play. As I said, it's Christmas. It is a moment. It is an event. And so I expect the same thing for Croatia. Now, dependent upon what happens after that, I don't know how big the Morocco game is going to be, but that doesn't surprise me at all, Rod. Not at all.
That's a really good answer, though, for a guy that is not as big a soccer guy either, but the CFL shouldn't feel bad. The problem is everybody's comparing it to the Grey Cup, which is also natural, but you're saying the CFL doesn't have anything to feel bad about here.
No. To have something that is not your sport, like if it was the what was it, that AFL or the International
Alliance,
whatever that thing was. Yeah, I think Darth Vader was in it. Harry Potter, whatever that league was.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, no one did. So if that outdrew that, some of the XFL, some of those spring leagues and so on, then that would be that. Now that's dangerous. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe and have for quite some time that the change in the evolution of the CFL, it's a necessity, because to not change or go with, it's like a restaurant that doesn't follow trends. Maybe pigs in a blanket aren't the big seller anymore, right? Like, you've got to get with the times. And so if someone wants to change things like even downs, people are afraid of the 4 downs, or afraid of a lot of it. And I understand why you're protective. But if you stay the same, this thing dies. So here's your choice. Do you want the game? Do you want to go and see a game in Regina or in Hamilton or in Calgary? Or do you want nothing? Because that's what it's going to come down to. So you either evolve or you die. And I think that's where the league is right now. It is on eggshells. It's very fragile right now. Look, I love it as much as anybody else in this country. But I do know if we stay the same, we're finished.
Yeah, dude. But have you also noticed that if you say that, they nail you to the cross? The fans, the league, the teams.
You know what it is? It's the diehards. It's the guys who say, "I'm not changed. I've been going to the game since 1954." Yeah, that's right. You were around before electricity, pal. So I get it. Mary Pickford, still attractive to you. Maybe Phyllis Diller. I don't know. I'm just saying that at some point, to be modern in a sports model, is the way to survive. To do it the same is going to be because you have a lot of competition. The CPL, the CEBL. I mean, you're talking about basketball, you're talking about soccer. The two biggest growing sports in this country, simply because they're the two biggest sports on the planet. And we're just sort of playing catch up. So if you want to be more competitive, if you want the eyes of those under the age of 35, under the age of 40, then you're going to have to do things that they're interested in. And so that might mean changes to the game itself. I'm not talking about the field. I'm not talking about the width. I'm not talking about the length. It'll be things like the halo, right? The 1 yard off the ball, right? Because that's a concern. That's also a safety thing when it comes to the Players Association. But the 4 downs is something that are you going to sit there and argue that the NFL is not the most popular event sport in North America? Because look at the television ratings. It will beat anything, and it beats everything. So if you're not akin to understanding how influence is, then as I said, stay the same. And I can tell you, because those stadiums this year, a little scary. Edmonton, scary. Ottawa, scary. There's a lot of them. Even Hamilton had difficulty. We know what Toronto goes through. These are issues that just won't go away because you want to keep it to 3 downs. You want to keep a yard apart. You want to keep, I understand the protection of it, but if we don't evolve, as I said beforehand, then you can look at those stadiums because you wouldn't change, and they will be filled full of tumbleweeds.
Yeah. Rackham. Wonderful comment. I don't know what's being done about that. I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing. But here I am in South Florida addressing a high school football team this week on the eve of their playoff semifinal,
I saw that.
which I'm going to
that's
tonight.
The best. That's fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic stuff.
But you can't force that. They asked me. So you know what I mean? And here's this old guy from Canada that spent 20 years in the CFL. The kids just looked up. I don't know. Yeah. And all of a sudden my followers went, from those players. But I will say this, and for your listening area here, the perception in American sports is that in Canada, it's hockey and everything else. Do you go along
That's
with
the American perspective. Yeah. Well, I had to I went to school there, right? I understand what that perception of Canada is. It's a poor one. They have very little idea. And it's only been really lately in the last, even probably 10, 15 years or so. Even when the Warren Moon, Joe Theismann, it wasn't probably until Doug Flutie, to be honest, where they started to actually understand a little bit. Because if you got, and you got drafted but didn't make the NFL, they weren't really quite sure, you're going to a team called Eskimos. I mean, obviously it's dated, but I'm saying that was the weirdness for them. Saskatchewan, what is that? And now I think there's an understanding because we're just globally now. I mean, with the advent of, the internet and cell phones and everything else, you can pick up sports everywhere, which is, again, the evolution of being seen. That's the key. It is exposure. Exposure is your currency. And if you take that away, you're dead. I talk about it all the time in the CBL. Get on something. A CBC Gem, fine. Just make sure people can find it, and they will. If your product is strong, and see, it comes down to the same thing all the time. If your product is really that strong, people will find you, but they've got to see it.
That's why I'm so incredibly grateful to Ryan O'Radio, WQEE, Noonan, Georgia, for exposing us to Georgian people. And now we're getting mail, and they're loving what we do here every day. Mike, thank you for this. Let's do it again soon, brother. Hope you're well.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go, Ducks, go. And by the way, I won't call it the Civil War because they get mad when you call Oregon State the Civil War. There aren't really a lot of comparisons. When you think about it, I don't see the similarities, but that's up to you.
It's a very, very big weekend. Thank you, Mike. The inimitable, the Hall of Fame bound, the ruggedly handsome Mike Richard. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.